leveraging agentic AI, leveraging all of these the latest and greatest tech in this space, and leveraging AI to manage those fleets, we think really is revolutionary.
You're listening to It's About Data, episode 66. This is a continuation of our conversation from episode 53 with Miran Badzak of IBM on database autonomy.
Okay, we're back with Miran Badzak, product manager over at IBM for DB2, where basically IBM is releasing a very major generational upgrade of DB2. And we were so getting into this in the last conversation that, Matt, I think I interrupted you as you were about to get stumble onto something very profound. So, Matt, here's your chance.
I don't know if it's profound, but it's definitely a follow-up question. So we've been talking about moving through levels, advancing autonomy over time, basically
Absolutely.
as technology matures, plus people get more comfortable with it, right? Now, what I want to bring up, and I think it's something you're very familiar with at IBM, is that IT managers are very, very conservative. And so, for example, many IT departments are reluctant to deploy patches and updates. They'll delay for months before they're willing to do that. They'll do their own testing for months and months before they're willing to update a patch, even if it's been thoroughly tested elsewhere for a long time. And so one of the use cases you mentioned for more advanced autonomy is automating some of those tasks, patches and updates. And that makes sense, right? That's a lot of DBA time. But how do you overcome this cultural reluctance? And that leads into a broader idea of how do we overcome cultural reluctance around this technology more broadly around automation for all kinds of different systems, not just DB2 and databases.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question, you rightly mentioned. Look, our customers, we go through. By the way, we go through so much testing and so much validation of DB2. By the time that product ships and it's out and available, it's been already thoroughly tested. One other thing that we do on a fairly regular basis, which also gives our customers confidence when they're deploying this, for example, in an on-premises environment, is we actually deploy our DB2 database up on the cloud first, right? So that gets us immediate feedback from customers. If something, let's say, if something slipped through the cracks, it usually doesn't. Then we'll catch it eventually before they're deploying anything in a production environment on premises, right? But ultimately, to your point on the patching, it is ultimately gaining the customer's trust over time, right? As they're using our AI tooling, as they're using our those AI capabilities, as they're deploying those patches, for example, if we're able to demonstrate that applying a DB2 patch on that system is a seamless, it's easy, and it's safe, then they're going to do it, right? If we're coming in there with a product that requires testing, requires validation, performance issues, whatever, over time, we never want to be in that space. We never want to be there where our customers are not trusting that we've done all the requisite work, all the pre-checks to make sure that when they're deploying that DB2 database, that they're going to have the best possible experience. And so, to me, Matt, it's at the end of the day, it's about trust. It's about us doing our work to make sure that we're 100% solid on what we're delivering to our customers, and we are. And we go through some pretty gnarly checks before anything makes it out of our labs, and then it's just building that trust over time with the customer, making it easy so that they can deploy our patches, deploy, for example, DB2 in their environments, but also that they have that trust because we've been delivering that stability over time, and we do that today.
Right. So this is something which you folks are using the term autonomous. I think we want to kind of plumb this a little bit because that's not a term that you just casually shoot around. And of course, I've been very familiar with Oracle Autonomous, Oracle, which really introduced this, and it's part of but strictly within the confines of their cloud service. You guys are taking a more broad-based approach. Oracle's case is that they feel that they're only confident delivering autonomous in an environment that they fully control, all the hardware and software, which is very understandable from their Exadata tradition. You folks are talking about autonomous. So I think the first part I want to ask is basically, how do you find autonomous? And you also made kind of a claim before, when we're off mic, that you folks believe that you'll be the only really true autonomous database out there. That's not a claim that goes easy. So let me give you the chance to answer those questions, which is one, what is this, and why are you saying this?
So why I'm saying this? The autonomous capability. And look, I don't want to spend time talking about big red on the other side, but the capabilities that are part of their autonomous database have been with DB2 since about 2010. So a lot of those the memory manager, a lot of those capabilities that are there have been part of the DB2 engine for a while. And so while they're impressive, while they're great capabilities and they help our customers certainly when they're managing DB2, and I'm sure they're helping out Oracle customers as well. Ultimately, leveraging agentic AI, leveraging all of these the latest and greatest tech in this space, and leveraging AI to manage those fleets, we think really is revolutionary. And what we've also done, in addition to providing these services in the cloud, we're also able to provide everything I talked about so far across any environment that customers are operating in today, right? So sort of Tony, you talked about Oracle being sort of the autonomous database being pegged to the cloud. We're able to deliver these autonomous capabilities, sort of these zero maintenance capabilities, no matter where DB2 happens to live. So we have customers, for example, today that are sitting behind some pretty major corporate firewalls, banks, financial institutions, insurance companies, et cetera. They're all running, a lot of them are running DB2 in air-gapped environments. So this entire stack, this entire technology stack that we're developing and that we're bringing to market can run on premises as well, can run completely isolated from the public internet, right? And so they can take that entire stack, bring it on-prem, and get the same experience, the same sort of zero maintenance, fully managed or managed experience that they would be getting from, for example, cloud or other places. And that's really been the key for us, is being able to deliver the technology also behind the firewall, where, let's face it, customers are not going to be opening up those databases out to the public internet anytime soon.
So does that mean you're running agentic models on their systems? So you're not following the model of like reaching out and calling Claude or calling OpenAI or even calling an IBM API to do this, to request, hey, what should I do in this situation? It just all runs eternally.
We're doing both, by the way. So we are arming our DBAs with options, right? When you grab the product and you deploy it, by default, we have an endpoint. We have an API's endpoint, sort of an AI stack that we've deployed on IBM Cloud, on AWS, and we're going to be announcing more hyperscalers as we go, right? And that's there by default. When you turn on when you get the product deployed, you start chatting with our AI. It's hitting that endpoint. What our customers can do, and the capability that we've added, is for them to deploy that AI stack on premises too, leveraging RHEL AI, VLLM, and on top of their own GPUs or AI accelerators, so that the entire system can run fully on premises, right? And customers can literally switch from, okay, I'd like, I was using for example, the Bedrock on AWS. I was using that as the inferencing endpoint. I want to now switch that over to my on-premises environment to VLLM again, or RHEL AI, and off I go. So they're getting the same exact experience, whether they're running on the cloud and running the cloud endpoints, or the on-premises fully air-gapped behind the firewall.
So what would the customer need to do to really prepare to take advantage of an autonomous database? In other words, is there anything that customers needs to do ahead of time? Like, I'll give an example, which is that over the past year, we were talking about trying to ground AI and we should build your own knowledge graphs. Well, nobody's building knowledge graphs. So what is really what is basically the I don't want to call barriers to entry, but what are the requirements for entry for customers here? And also give us a trajectory in terms of, because I doubt that a customer overnight can say, okay, I flicked a switch and now just let the database run itself. So you tell us, what does the customer need to be? How does the customer need to prepare, and what will be their journey?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tony. So we've tried to make this as easy as humanly possible, right? So the way that you deploy this, and just going to talk a little bit about the customer experience here, right? The way you're deploying this is you're downloading our DB2 Genius Hub. You set that up takes about 5 minutes to install it, 4 or 5 minutes or so. Once it's installed, you're connecting to your fleet of DB2 databases, and you're done. Off you go. So that's with the cloud inferencing endpoint. That's already pre-configured, ready to go. You don't need to touch anything at all. It's ready to go. Now, if I'm going to use my own inferencing endpoint, for example, I have my own relationship with Amazon. I have my own Bedrock on AWS. I don't want to use the IBM provider. I want to bring my own model. Well, they're just going to go into the app. They're going to change the API key. They're going to add their credentials essentially to their Bedrock. Click save, and they're done. Off they go. And if they want that fully managed, sort of fully behind the firewall experience, then they're deploying. A lot of customers that we speak to today, they have GPU farms already, or they have AI accelerators that are living in their environment today. They simply deploy RHEL AI if they haven't already, or VLLM. We connect to that endpoint. I use the app to connect to that endpoint, and off they go. So you have three different ways of essentially getting to AI inferencing, and again, it all depends on your specific requirements as a customer and what you're doing behind the firewall.
Yeah, but let me take another step there, which is that you're really learning how to run a database. I mean, it takes a DBA a long time to understand all the access patterns, basically, the schema, basically the constraints, of the infrastructure, the hardware. So how does an AI model get up to speed if the customer is not prompting it? So what's going on at least if I'm using IBM's domain specific model for this, I'm not talking about, let's say I'm going to Bedrock or using Gemini or something like that. But if I'm using IBM's model, how does it get up to speed and gain all that DBA knowledge? Is it as easy as just flicking
It's
a
already built.
switch?
It's already pre-built. So we've already embedded all of that capability into the product. So the when you download the product, when you get the
Okay.
product deployed, for example, it's all there and it's ready to go. So you start working. For example, I talked about that example of anomaly detection, right? As soon as the product is deployed, you connect to your databases. It's leveraging the data that's already there. So it's leveraging the knowledge that it already has, and it's leveraging the telemetry data, for example, that's already there. There's nothing new to deploy.
Right.
We're just pinging we're leveraging the componentry, we're leveraging the data, we're leveraging the telemetry data, for example, the log files, etc. That's already there, that's ready to go. So there's nothing new for you to do here. This is simply you connect and off you go.
Interesting. Well, I'll be very curious to see the evolution, because it really does sound like you're introducing some capabilities now, and then there's really a roadmap, and customers will see that roll out over time, and they'll also have their own journey that they have to go through to get this technology online. I want to take the conversation in a slightly different direction, which is hopefully okay with IBM marketing. We'll see. Back in 2023, there was a lot of talk about text-to-SQL, and then I feel like the whole industry sort of backed off. And then 2025 going into 2026, we've come back to it and said, okay, now we're ready to do natural language queries again. And a lot of that revolves around things like semantic layers and tools that will allow us to translate from natural language into queries. So what's kind of your take and IBM's take on that part of, let's call it autonomy, as well as being more responsive to business user queries, to actually getting to the insights inside the data with a little less effort, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, look, we see that as a key capability for our lakehouse, for DB2, for all of our data products essentially. And if you recall, you may or may not recall, but we actually came out with a product back in 2015, 16 or so, called Watson Analytics, and that was sort of, let's call that an initial foray into being able to ask questions of your data, right? So IBM has a rich history of providing those kinds of capabilities to our customers and evolving the tech as we go. So look, it's an area that we are definitely interested in. We are definitely investing in. It is something that we see as a not just a differentiator, but a kind of a key element of our data platform. So that's being built across watsonx.data. It's being built across IBM DB2 as well, so that our customers can effectively chat with their data via something like text-to-SQL. And for us, it takes the form of really kind of a couple of different personas, right? On the one hand, you sort of have the folks that are doing business analytics that want to be able to chat with their data, do sales forecasts, and so on, right? There's also the engineers, the software developers, right, who want to be building applications on top of your DB2, and then you're using complex you have complex tables, complex relationships between those tables. So that's another area that we're investing as well from a text-to-SQL perspective, so that as our developers are building applications, they don't have to go and figure out all of these different relationships, joins, etc. They can ask the question in natural language, and our AI will come back and give you the SQL statement, for example, that pertains to that particular query. You evaluate it, you take a look at it. Did we get it right? Or tweak if it didn't, and copy paste into your application, and off you go. So
Right.
couple of different examples, but definitely an area of investment for us, and something that's key to the data platform overall.
Yeah, it's a really interesting journey, Miran, that you've laid out here. So I'm going to ask one final question. And I think this will be very appropriate because we'll be having this conversation. We'll be airing this probably around the time of Think. So, kind of, put answer it in this context, which is that, and it's sort of related to what Matt was just asking about, is text-to-SQL basically now ready for prime time? What is this going to, I mean, we know that what you're talking about for the enterprise, which is we want to reduce the cost of running databases 95%. That's great. Nobody will argue with that. But here we want to look at the value add, what this means for the DBA. And what I remember, and I'll just give you a little bit of a sort of an anecdote here, when Oracle introduced their autonomous database, close to about 10 years ago, 9 or 10 years ago. I remember at Oracle World, there was a talk that was given by, I think, Deloitte or one of the SIs about autonomous versus the DBA, and the line for that one was way out, like it stretched the length of Moscone. DBAs were were just wondering about what this was going to do, and how it's going to impact them. And this is sort of a microcosm of what's happening today in the coding world, software engineering world. So I want to ask you, in the database engineering world, the DBA world, what with autonomous database, what is this going to mean for the DBA? What is it going to change? And will they need to upskill as a result of this? So you take take us home here.
No, so Tony. That's a great question. So look, this isn't the technology that we're building is not about getting rid of every single DB2 DBA on the planet. That is not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is turn our DBAs and turn our folks that are, again, managing these fleets into DBA superheroes, right? We want to do what vibe coding and what all of these different AI tools for software engineers have done for them in terms of productivity, right? So that they can focus on, so they can get the operational efficiencies of running, of having AI be their sidekick, right? And Tony, back to your point of potentially having the opportunity, having the time back to, number one, upskill, and number two, work on activities that are going to be delivering differentiated capabilities, differentiated value to the enterprise, right? Obviously, AI is a big topic. Obviously, every single company, and particularly companies that we work with, every single one of them has AI projects, AI initiatives, and data is a key element of every single one of those AI initiatives. So we want to make sure that our DBAs have the time and the space to focus on those activities that are going to be differentiated, that are going to deliver that value to the enterprise, as opposed to worrying about operational issues on whether is my database up and running, is our performance issue, do I need to give access to a certain person, this or that. Those are all things, again, that are being done today. They're absolutely necessary, but we think these are all prime targets for AI, prime targets for automation, and giving our customers the time back to focus on some of these other activities that are really going to provide some tremendous value going forward. And differentiated value going forward.
Yeah. Sounds good. So there is a future to look forward to. Miran, very much enjoyed our conversation, and looking forward to catching back up to see as you IBM and your customers go along on this autonomous journey. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Tony. Matt, thank you. Good to see you both.